My name is Jess. I'm from Darug and Gundagara country in the Blue Mountains. I'm a carer for both my dad and my nonna. I support my mum, who cares for both of them full time. My dad has chronic pain he's lived with for over 20 years and other chronic conditions, and my nonna is 98. I am actually a volunteer firefighter with the New South Wales RFS. During the 2019-2020 bushfires, the fires around sort of our area had been burning. There was a couple that were closing in almost on the particular area where my parents live, and then kind of the other side of the Blue Mountains. Fires started up north in New South Wales in kind of July, August of that year. So it had been a pretty kind of slow burn of build of anxiety from a lot of people, especially those I think that live in bushfire prone areas. There have been very bad fires, sort of countless times in the mountains, in 2013, and it's sort of something that's very top of mind. So I think that when we'd made the decision that it was not going to be safe for my family to stay at their house, we'd made that quite early. We knew that if we had fire come quite close to the property and we couldn't evacuate, we kind of had to create that point of, action for ourselves quite early. When we had decided that it wasn't safe for my mum, dad and nonna to stay at their house, we made sure that everything was, locked up, that their neighbours knew, where they were going, what was happening. They all agreed that it was the right thing to do for them to be able to go somewhere a bit safer, that's a bit more urban, populated. And I think just kind of making that decision and sort of having a day or two in between, so that we had that time for them to, pack the car and make sure they hadn't forgotten anything, and sort of, take a week's worth of stuff. As I mentioned earlier, I had done a lot of firefighting during that period and, was exhausted. I think had been out sort of Christmas Eve and then Boxing Day and then New Year's Day that year. So, there was a lot going on. And so I think just knowing that, my family were all somewhere safe, and, that we were then able to go back to their house and then be safe again was definitely the right thing to do for us. We used the Fires Near Me app that the New South Wales RFS manage. And so that was a way that we could map where the fire was. And we'd basically agreed that, if it got within a specific radius of the house, that was going to be the point that we would start to make that decision. So I think that, that's obviously something that we had decided on as a family. One of the things I would say as well is thinking about what the trigger points are for you and your specific situation. Having the kind of pre-planned trigger point on, right, the fire's 10 kilometers away. This is when we're going to make sure we leave. Or is it 20 kilometers away from our house? That's when we leave. You can get into things like what the topography is like and stuff like that too. That's a bit too technical. And I think there's a misconception around that the emergency services are going to tell you when to evacuate, and they definitely do. But often at times it's kind of getting to be, very close to being too late, and you've got to always make those decisions as early as you can, I think. My three key takeaways for other carers who are looking to be prepared for their next emergency is really to, one, look at your plans. So talk about what's important to you and to the people that you care for. The second one is really knowing who you can call on for help, whether that's friends or neighbours, and making sure that they're aware of where you are and what's happening. And the third one is think about small ways that you can help to restore normality during the emergency for the people that you care for. We all know that routine is so important in keeping people feeling safe and secure. But something as simple as having the person's favorite flavor of tea or the favorite book, or just something that's is really special to them, to be able to kind of create that routine, even if it's the time that you're, giving tablets or doing injections or things like that. I think that we underestimate how much those small comforts can really help, because sort of chaos can be going on around you, but having those small comforts is really really important, and they go a long way. We live in a country, unfortunately, where with climate change, we're going to be faced with more natural disasters in the coming years. And so for people who live in sort of bushfire prone areas, in flood prone areas, just really knowing that there's got to be a couple of options when you're setting up your emergency preparedness plans.